I remember waking up one morning just really feeling heavy and life feeling really hard. It was kind of a progressive thing where I just was continuing to feel disconnected, even though I had a life that I felt like, um, should be what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's like the perfect life, right? I'm living in this 5 bedroom, 3 bath house with my husband and my kids, and everything should be great. And why do I feel so disconnected from my life? And I had this thought going through my head, and it kept saying to me, whose life am I living anyway? And that's when I knew it was really truly time to shift my life, change from where I had been living to a life that truly, truly worked for me. I've been very blessed in my life. Even though I've had my fair share of peril, I will say, in my life, I've really had such an amazing life of learning and experiencing so many amazing different concepts in this reality. And as a teenager, I was very lucky, I'm going to say, to have a grandmother who was very aware and who understood things, I think, way deeper than most people did at that time. And at the time, she had introduced me to my grandma was a psychic. She came from we've came from a long line of psychics, and she kind of hung out with this group of women who were also psychic in their own right, and did a lot of talking about the future and what was going to be going on, really, particularly in the 2000s, when we started evolving, when we started waking up, when we started realizing that we truly were, as a collective, as a whole, we truly were way more than this reality. And what people start experiencing, I think, initially is kind of this feeling of, number one, being disconnected, feeling very disconnected to their life, right? And really even having that awareness of like, whose life am I living anyways? Like, even though this looks like the picture perfect life, right? It doesn't really fulfill me. It doesn't really spark what I really truly love. And really going through this group and really listening to these women talk about what we were going to go through collectively, I understood when I started really feeling this, that was what was going on for me. The things that once worked for me just really no longer did. And it wasn't because the things were bad or wrong. And it wasn't because, one specific thing. It was just that there was an inner yearning inside of me that desired to be more in alignment with who I was. And so I started really following that. And it was interesting because at the time, um, when I started really having that first thought of whose life am I living anyways, I actually really, again, I really was living this life that I felt like was a really good life, right? I also, at the time, I owned a healing center. I started practicing energy work in my teens. And so as I grew up, it was just natural that I continued the progression of helping other people heal. And so at the time when I started really having these visions and these thoughts of, whose life am I living anyways, I had owned a healing center. I was working on people's bodies. And one of the things that I realized was a majority of the people that I worked on, everyone felt this disconnection. It wasn't just me. People were feeling disconnected from their lives, from their bodies. People were feeling they didn't belong here. People were feeling like, um, this life wasn't really theirs to live. And I started really playing with a lot of those concepts. And one of the things that started to really expand my life was, instead of feeling heavy and hard about the idea, or instead of resisting that idea of I felt like I didn't belong here, right? When we feel that, we instantaneously go to that, oh, I feel like I don't belong here. It feels so heavy and so hard, and everything feels so difficult. So what I started doing was really changing that thought. And I started really playing with the idea, what if we don't belong from here? What if we really, truly aren't from here? And when I started playing with that idea and I started really talking to more and more people about that, I found that there was a lot of people that identified with that idea that, we're not really from here. And I started really playing in some different concepts with that. And one of the things that really rang really true for me is, again, I'm not from here. I'm from a universe much bigger from here. And I chose to come here and play in this reality's concepts of lack and limitation. Because, and everyone says, well, why would I choose to do that, right? Why would I choose to come and play in this baloney? Because most of us, like, we don't really like it here, right? It's not fun. It's not really productive to what we feel like we can do. It feels so limiting. It feels so heavy. It feels so hard. And what I realized is the reason that it's always felt so heavy and so hard is because we've done it, we've been it, we've been literally playing for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes in this reality. And I do believe we chose to come here because we wanted to play in all of the concepts that this reality had to offer. And in order to play in all of the concepts that this reality had to offer, we had to embody over and over and over. And we also had to give up a lot of our power and our potency in order to do that. In order to play in this reality, we had to lock up and limit who we were dynamically. And we did that in so many different ways in order to keep ourselves restricted, in order to keep ourselves contracted, in order to stop ourselves from really truly stepping into the magical beings that we being, calling this reality baloney. Many lifetimes ago, we had to choose certain things. We also had to be under what most people would say in these last thousands of years of being reincarnated. We've been under a spell, and now we're waking up. And right now, what we're perceiving, what we're feeling is the wake up. We're feeling uh, the internalization of the tear down of the form and structure that has been controlling and dominating and manipulating us for so many lifetimes. The good news is this lifetime is the last lifetime that you're going to have to be restricted and dominated and controlled in a way that we have been. This is the lifetime that we get to wake up. So if we can sit with this idea that the life that you've been living may not have even been your life, because, and I say that because most of us have agreed and aligned with so many things that really isn't true with us, that what we've been doing is we've built a whole life around form and structure that doesn't resonate true with us. And now we're waking up. We've been waking up since 2012, and potentially even before 2012. You've been waking up to this reality that the life that you're living isn't really truly the life that you want to live. It's the life that this form and structure said you had to live, and it's not yours. And when you start to realize that you actually don't have to live a life that doesn't work for you anymore. You truly can jump into a life that works. You can jump into a life that expands you. You can jump into a life that is ease and fun and joy. And you don't have to be restricted by this reality's form and structure any longer. You don't have to be living in a limitation that doesn't work for you anymore. And as we continue to evolve and as we continue to awaken, we will understand that we are not separate from anyone and anything. We are all one. And we came here as a group to learn and to play in the concepts of lack and limitation. And now that that period is ending, and we're realizing that we no longer have to be so restricted in this life. We can truly have the joy of having a body. And as more and more of us wake up to this reality, we're understanding that life is truly what we make it. And when we start evolving and we start really diving into having and being and receiving and perceiving energy in a new way, we can have life show up in a new way. Now is the time to stop resisting this reality and understand that the feelings that you've been feeling are totally validated. You feel like you don't belong here because this is not truly your home. This is where we have been. This is where we've been playing. We came here on an agreement to learn, shift, and expand who we be. And your mission is almost complete. You are almost done playing in this heavy lack and limitation, where literally so much of the form and structure of the old ways of paradigms are fading. And much of what you may be perceiving in your body right now is the breakdown of that. And the more and more you disconnect from that, the more and more you just embrace that you're perceiving energy versus what you're feeling in your body. There's a big difference between perceiving and feeling. And many of us are perceiving what's going on right now in the world, and it's not a wrongness of you, it's just a perceiving of energy. Yeah, so the more and more you can flow, and the more and more you can maybe just embrace the idea that, hey, maybe I feel like I don't belong here because I really don't. And it's okay. And I'm here and I'm consciously choosing to be here and stay here and finish out my mission, and not be so wore down and feel so heavy and hard, because those are all old paradigms shifting and changing. And now is the time to embrace the lightness of being. And I'm going to share with you some amazing tools where you really truly can have that lightness of being, and you can step out of the resistance of being here. It's time to stop fighting what you know, and know that it's okay that you're not from here. It's okay that you feel like you might not belong here, and really truly embrace that you are here and allow yourself to show up here. Now is the time to show up here.